this fictitious idea that we're going to sell a $50 thing and run Facebook ads to it and put it on autopilot and retire, that's just a fantasy. It's actually significantly easier to sell a handful of copies of a thing that's really expensive as opposed to lots of copies of a thing that's not really expensive.
I laughed when you said Elon Musk selling a $10 PDF. I imagined myself Elon Musk doing a webinar and shilling like his $10 PDF because he wants to eventually sell you a Roadster.
There's three things you need to do in order to generate customers. You need to get their you need to get their and then you can get their. And people tend to focus on number one or number three. And these things are just don't seem intuitive on the front end until you just walk through it and you're like, crap, now that seems so simple and obvious. Why did I not know that 8 years ago? I would challenge every person who teaches something online in some format to at least try to optimize for
Ahrefs Podcast.
So I remember you as the guy behind the Videofruit, the project Videofruit. And I remember buying your course to, I think, email list building, like build a list or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was a very good course, very structured, lots of good advice. But these days you are not doing any courses. Mm. You switched, like the way I understand it, you are helping coaches with marketing. Mm-hmm. Is that right? Or how would you describe your current business?
Yeah, just past the 11-year anniversary of being in business, which is just a little bit shocking and surprising, to be honest. Still going a decade later. I think a top optimization, or a thing that just became really important to me over the years was, how do we make it almost impossible to fail at achieving whatever the goal is that we're trying to help people with? So that goal has shifted a little bit in what people hire us for, pay us money for. But what I noticed, Tim, was with courses, I love courses, I buy them, but their success rates are really low. Meaning, like for us, we sold about 5,000 copies of our email list building course, and less than 1% of people got the thing they wanted when they bought it. And less than 10% of people even finished it. And I don't know. I think just after years and years of doing that, I'm like, all right, what could we do? And we even structured that course. You mentioned it a while ago. We structured that course in a way that tried to make it really hard not to win. But there's something that happens when people pay a couple $100 for a thing, or even like I got a bookshelf over here. To the side, can't see it with this webcam, but there's hundreds of books on it, and I paid $15-$20 for those books, and the vast majority I've never read and will never read, if we're being honest. And most of us are like that. We buy books.
You're a good customer for book publishers.
Totally. Amazon loves me. And Goodwill, because I wound up taking a bunch of them to the thrift store and give them away once they pile up too high. But something happens, like take a book, for instance. You buy the book, you're super interested in the book. Like I just bought 3 books on ADHD because my wife got diagnosed with ADHD, and it explains a lot. So we're digging into the weeds of that. I bought 3 of them that arrived yesterday. I probably won't read the 3 books. I'll skim and look at different sections. And what I noticed, Tim, over the years was when people pay more, they listen and results come. And it's actually significantly easier to sell a handful of copies of a thing that's really expensive as opposed to lots of copies of a thing that's not really expensive. So internal goal, profit, revenue, you get to live another day and have some freedom and impact. Or that freedom, that's the internal goal. External goal is like help people, but not just in some ambiguous, high level, ethereal way, measurable. Like if you hire us to help you get more clients through a coaching business, how many clients have you got month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, month 5? And if we put specific numbers on that and then grade ourselves against, did you achieve the thing that we thought you could do when you hired us? Did you and we win or not? So I think the sneaky optimization that I've not even totally realized in the last few years that we've been doing from nearly day one is like, what just works? What product type, what price point, what program structure works to actually get the result?
There's lots of interesting things to unpack. First of all, I didn't finish your course, but that doesn't mean that your course is bad, and it doesn't mean that I didn't get any value from it. at a certain point, I'm not sure if it's common with all the courses, and I'm not sure that I remember my experience well enough, but I feel that at a certain point, I felt that I got enough kind of tips, information to do items to put on my list to kind of start working on it and not learning even more. Because what's the point of going further in your course if I haven't implemented some of the quite reasonable things that you were offering before this? So I'm not sure if judging the courses by their completion rate is fair, as long as people who bought the course are happy, as long as people who got the course are not asking for refunds, and having certain amount of success with it. Maybe even they checked out the course, they agreed that the information that you're sharing, the advice that you're giving makes sense, and they see how it would help their business. But maybe then once they understood how it works, they decided it doesn't look like something I want to work on. I'm not inspired by those things, but there are other things that I know will also improve my business, and I would rather work on those ones. So yeah, the courses thing is interesting, but another interesting thing that you said is if I understood correctly, you are making more money selling coaching than selling courses, which is to me counterintuitive, because course is a digital thing where the famous cost of replication is zero. You just sell copies of it at no extra cost for yourself. While with coaching, you are essentially selling your time for money, which is in the entrepreneurial world is not optimal. And you need to hire more people if you want to have like coaches in your organization to do this for you. So tell me about that. How come you're able to make more money with coaching and turn it into a business? Because coaching more seems like a solopreneur kind of thing, not a business. So yeah, I thrown a bunch of things at you. Please respond. That's how it works. That's how this podcast works.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk to the first thing first. I totally agree with you. There's been plenty of books I've never read and I enjoy and I'm happy and I recommend them. That's different than I got the thing I wanted when I bought it. So neither one of them are right or wrong. If you're optimizing for not refunds, I got something out of it, then that's just a different optimization point. Not right or wrong, just different. I would challenge every person who teaches something online in some format to at least try to optimize for result, because practically no one does. We primarily optimize for how can I make money in the most efficient way possible, interact with the fewest humans possible, and quit my job and retire. That's what we actually optimize for. And I just call everybody out, including myself, and say, that sucks and is selfish. Make money? Sure, that's great. Having that as an optimization point is totally fine. You can optimize for a balanced life and impact and revenue. You can do both of those things. But almost no one actually tries to make stuff that works. We just throw up our hands when we get the crazy people and say, yeah, crazy Nancy over there, want a refund again, can't help that person, just send her back. It's like, how about you just make your crap better? So yes, different optimization points. And my observation has been, if you're in the industry we're in specifically, has primarily been teaching people things. So courses, memberships, coaching, that kind of stuff. What I've noticed, Tim, is the hardest to screw up thing. Just take numbers. If you sell a $10,000 coaching package and your goal is $100,000, you need 10 humans, 10 total. But let's say you sell a $100 course. You need 1,000 humans. No, 100 humans. Math hard. A lot more people to buy that thing than you do if you sell a $10,000 thing. I think it's 1,000, right? Yeah, 10. Yeah, anyway. So it is easier to sell fewer units of a thing than a whole lot of units of a thing. And when you go up market and you're selling very expensive things, it is easier to sell to people that have money than people that don't have money. Those things are just true. It is mechanically easier to sell a $10,000 thing to just a couple of people than a $1 thing to a whole lot of people. That's just true. So also added on to that, when you're selling to people that have money versus people that don't have money, it's just easier. So this is like popularized, especially in the teaching space, like online, anybody that teaches things is, and I think Ryan Deiss is the first person I heard it from that popularized the model of the Ascension ladder. Like you start with a super cheap thing and you work up to kind of a mid-market thing, then a high market thing, then a super premium thing. And man, I love Ryan. I love the theory of that. That is incredibly difficult to do well. In fact, and this is just one sample size of one, observing a couple thousand coaching clients and several hundred people in the industry, I've actually never seen one person ever do that as it's taught well. Not one time. Because what you have to have is a half dozen to a dozen completely refined funnels that work together. And there's so many things to go wrong with that. So it's just hard because you're selling to cheap people to begin. You're selling to people that don't have money typically to begin with. And you're trying to get people that don't have money to pay you more money. And you got to sell lots of units. And marketing skill-wise, incredibly difficult to do because you have not just one funnel, you got like 12 of them that have to talk to each other and actually work well. That's a whole lot of copy, a whole lot of stuff. Okay, the other side is the Elon model. This is how Elon does every one of his businesses. It's the descension ladder. So he doesn't start at the bottom of the market, he starts at the top of the market. So take Tesla, it's the easiest example of it. The very first Tesla they created was the Roadster. It was a couple $100,000. I think one of the first customers was George Clooney. And the first several dozen people that ever bought a Tesla were extremely wealthy. Like it's easier to sell a Tesla to George Clooney or a Roadster that costs $250,000 to George Clooney than it would be to walk around my neighborhood and try to get somebody to buy a Model 3 that costs 1/10 of the price. Because George Clooney has a lot of disposable income. People in my neighborhood don't have a lot of disposable income. Like it's just math. So Elon starts at the top of the market with a Roadster and then uses the profit of that. Like it's easier to start a car company selling ultra premium cars than selling mass market cars. In fact, every car company for the last 100 years that's tried to start went bankrupt because they started with the Ascension concept. They started with let's sell a $30,000 car to millions of people and make that work. And no one has made it work since like Henry Ford. Everybody goes bankrupt. Elon did the opposite. He didn't start with a $10 PDF. He started with the $10,000 coaching program, or the equivalent of that in the car industry. Started with the $250,000 Roadster. Used the profit of that to get the business going and get money flowing and get investors. And then he went to the mid-market, which is the Model S and the Model X. That's the one like with the Falcon, DeLorean wing door things. Still a $100,000 car, 150 depending on the options. Very profitable, sold to the wealthy, easier to sell to, has disposable income. It's their third car. It's not their primary driver. They're not taking kids to soccer practice in that primarily. So you don't get moms comparing it against a Toyota Sienna. You can't even compare it to a thing. Then uses that after like a decade to create the mass market Model 3, which is what you see driving everywhere. That's a $35,000 entry level car. So he just did the opposite. And it's just like I get down at the end of the day to the three parameters I gave, but also just like where does the math work? And the math is a lot easier to get to work at the very top than at the very bottom. So are there deliverability issues at the very top? Sure, those are everywhere, by the way. This fictitious idea that we're going to sell a $50 thing and run Facebook ads to it and put it on autopilot and retire, that's just a fantasy that does not exist anywhere. Like that's not a thing that happens to anybody. So there's deliverability problems no matter where you're at, whether it's high-end coaching or low-end core sales or whatever. So there you go. What comes up for you as I say that?
This is so good. I laughed when you said Elon Musk selling a $10 PDF. I imagined myself, I don't know, Elon Musk doing a webinar and shilling like his $10 PDF because he wants to eventually sell you a Roadster. Yeah. Now that you say it, it makes so much sense. And I definitely seen the concept of Ascension ladder. I struggle to pronounce it. Ascension? Am I pronouncing it correctly?
ACEN, Ascension, yeah.
Ascension ladder so many times. I don't know, there's a book by Russell Brunson, .com Secrets. It's there. It's everywhere. It's everywhere in a lot of marketing kind of blueprints. And whenever I was reading it, I was like, yeah, makes a lot of sense. You attract your first-time buyers with a small offer, and then you kind of upsell because there are always more people who want like a higher price. But do you really sell like a $10 thing or $100 thing to George Clooney and then expect him to kind of stay on your email list to get more? No, it's actually the other way around. You send some super expensive, super unique thing to George Clooney, and he then rings you up to say, do you have any more of that? Because I have a friend who wants it as well. Whoa, yeah, it makes so much sense. Thanks a lot for busting the myth, basically. So would it be correct to say that for the company that is called Growth Tools, the 100% of revenue right now is coming from your consulting services?
Yeah, 98+%. Yep.
90. Do you share the revenue numbers?
We don't.
You don't? Okay.
I used to, but actually I'll comment on that for a second because I think this is interesting. I love when people do because it's the thing that got me to start online. Specifically, there were 4 people that were doing it right around the time I started. Nathan Barry, before ConvertKit, Brennan Dunn, John Lee Dumas, and Pat Flynn. All of those guys, I don't know if any of them do now, but all of them used to write year-end reports or monthly revenue reports. I found that incredibly helpful. Most of those guys look like me and are from the same country. So when I read their reports, I'm like, oh crap, like this is possible. That was huge for me. Here's the trap I got into when I used to talk about revenue out loud a lot. Maybe one day we'll go back to it. It's easy for pride to slip in, Tim. It's easy to make it just like who's got the bigger thing game. And I don't think I got caught up to that to a giant degree, but it's easy to get to put the value in that, to put your self-worth in that. I think it's probably a number one trap of founders and high performers in general is to make who you are, what you do, and how much you make. And that eventually leads you to doing stupid things. So for that reason, we stopped talking about it publicly. Internally, we do P&L reviews every week as a team. So everybody knows the numbers internally to a probably too much degree, meaning every detail of pretty much everything outside of salaries. So we do it internally. I found it to be counterproductive to my leading well and making good, sound decisions. So for that reason, we've stopped for the time.
And yet it still would be true to say that right now you're making more money than when you were selling courses.
Oh, yes, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so the trajectory of your business earnings is trending upwards.
Yes, correct.
Okay, great. Growth tools. I saw that in the footer of the growthtools.com website, you have 9 tools listed, but 4 of those tools the website doesn't even load, and they didn't check if the other 5 the website loads, but I didn't test if they're working or not. I believe since you say that 98% of revenue is coming from coaching, not tools, all those tools are free, which kind of makes me want to ask a question. Is growth tools kind of a metaphor for what you're doing? You're giving people growth tools to grow their business rather than creating those. So where is the name coming from? From those little tools you were creating where 4 of them are dead right now, or from the tools you kind of and concepts and workflows and frameworks that you give to your clients?
Yeah, it's interesting. So in 2018, we changed the name of the company, or 2017, somewhere around there, changed the name of the company from Videofruit to Growth Tools. And at the time, we were every month building a new kind of niche marketing tool. And that was great. It was a interesting marketing strategy that I would love to get back to at some point. It was also extremely complicated to do well. Building new tools at a high clip that are actually good is just difficult. Just even conceptually, much less the engineering side of things. And nothing we built was overly complicated. So after 4 or 5 years of that, we decided not to maintain most of the tools anymore. So those were made as a lead generation mechanism. They did a fantastic job at that, but they didn't pass the criteria after several years of like, is this just simple to do and are we having fun doing it? It was actually the opposite. It got more and more laborious and harder to do. And there's just simpler ways to do what those tools were functioning as. Now, the name existed before those tools existed. So our business model, Tim, is we give away all of our training and all of our tools for free. And then like 0.1% of people hire us to help them actually install those. Because most people know reading the book is the easy part, but taking that and applying it to your life is the hard part. So that's what our business model is based on. So tools now extend for us beyond, not really publicly on the website, but extend for us well beyond just software pieces. But yeah, you need 3 things to increase success rates to over 90%. You need really good training. That's a commodity. You need really good tools. Those are mostly commodities now. The third thing is having an individual who's actually done that to walk beside you to integrate the tools and the training into a thing that actually works. Like, that's the thing that's never a commodity. Because the reason you said 20 minutes ago, how do you do it on scale? How do you do that? And it's a travesty that we haven't solved that problem, because like take, let's say, keep going back to marriage counseling, because that's something most of us can like viscerally relate to. And we know that's a hard problem. And most of us have never tried to tackle it like we do our career. And I would challenge all of you, if you're married, try harder, try different things, actually pay attention to it like you do your spreadsheets and your rankings. And your life will get definitively better across the board. So going back to marriage for a minute, take the somebody on earth, I don't know who it is, somebody's like the best marriage counselor. There's really bad ones and there's okay ones and there's like really good ones. And somewhere at the top of that pile is like probably several dozen people that are like legit world class. I don't know who they are. I know a couple that are really good, but take Glenn. There's one of our marriage counselors we've hired. His name is Glenn Hill. He runs a company called Connection Codes, connectioncodes.co. Great guy, great framework. Highly recommend. Go through their course, get their training, hire him to one-on-one coach you. He's good. World class, I don't know. Is it the best in the world? Probably not, but he's really, really good. But Glenn, here's the problem. And why most people go to these lower result rate products is like to sell and to implement. Glenn's impact radius in his private practice, his coaching, is like 50 people. He can't himself physically coach more than that. Like literally just time hours in the day. And Glenn he actually has more butt and seat hours than any coach or consultant or therapist I've ever seen. He has over 50,000 hours in a seat coaching people, and the dude's like mid-50s. Just run the math. That's really hard to do, actually. You got to be in seat counseling people for like 30, 40 hours a week, which is very, very difficult. But Glenn can still only help like 50 people in the most high result rate product type that there is, which is one-on-one coaching. So there's a fundamental issue of like, how do you grow that? How do you do that? That has to be solved. So one of the primary things we're attempting to solve as a company, like if you were to ask me what our mission is, you could state it several ways, but I think the easiest to understand way is our goal is to scale one-on-one coaching.
There's so much to unpack. I made quite a few notes as you were sharing all of that. I don't even know where to start, so I'll probably start from a completely unrelated question. Is how many clients do you currently have?
We have several hundred.
Several hundred. Mm-hmm. Is that, I don't know, 700, 600? Is that
We don't share numbers, unfortunately, Tim. So I would just put it in the under 1,000 range.
Okay, you basically avoided my trap of reverse engineering your company's revenue.
That's why we don't share that. But several
because, yeah. On another interview, you shared that a typical client has 5 to 10K setup fee, and then you charge them 1,000 per month for kind of ongoing thing. So, if you have about 1,000 clients, that's 1,000 per 1,000. That's $1 million revenue just in maintenance fees, not in setup fees. So, anyway, this kind of gives, again, me, maybe the listeners, some general idea of what we're talking about here. Tell me the story of 4 marketing directors, which you mentioned a couple times, and I think you blamed yourself for it. So it's not that. Well, tell me the story. I won't tell it for you.
This one, I don't even know if I fully have come to total realization there, but I'll process through it with you. So for anybody that doesn't know, which is most everybody, we are on our 5th director of marketing. I kind of lose count in about that number of years. And it's interesting the things we say that wind up coming true. And I should probably be more careful with my words in general due to that. Internally, we have a phrase like past Bryan is the best prophet for future Bryan. Like many things that you say about yourself, and I think this is true for most of us, you look in the future, it's like, oh crap, like I said that 3 years ago, now this is true. And it's not a positive, actually. This is a negative. So I said for years, the hardest role I would ever hire would be a director of marketing, because that's my skill set. That's what I'm good at, is marketing. And that proved true. I think, man, it is really, I haven't fully processed this out. In fact, I've got a couple coaching clients recently who are in similar situations. So it's very interesting when you coach through things that you have been through in the very recent past, because you're able to help them. You don't even logically, it's not at the prefrontal cortex yet where it's totally processed and you could draw the flow chart for it, but you feel it at a deep, visceral level where you're like, you're speaking from the heart, not from the head on those kind of things. The pits you have fallen in are the best pits you can help other people to avoid, even if you don't even totally know why you fell in the pit. And you saw the pit coming and you still fell in it. So we have 4 directors of marketing. I think there's multiple mistakes I made. Ultimately, as a leader, when there's a problem, it's all your fault. And that's like a really good thing mostly, because you can do, like, if you're a victim to something, there's nothing you could do. And I'm not a victim of anything in my business. I don't think there's been anything I'm like, well, there's nothing I could do about that. Thus, I just got to sit here and just keep getting punched in the face. Like, no, like, there's rarely that thing. There are true victims in life. But in leadership, almost never. It's all my fault at the end of the day. And it's all their fault when it goes well. Jim Collins calls that the window in the mirror. You look in the mirror when things don't go well, and you look out the window to give credit when they go well. That's the best leadership posture I know of, at least. The best concept I've ever heard on that. So with the director of marketing, I think there was a hiring mistake and a leadership mistake. The hiring mistakes were not truly appreciating and realizing, until I just made the mistake 2 or 3 times, the difference in, like, I don't know how to say this efficiently. The difference in marketing disciplines. So leading up to hiring a director of marketing, we had a primary course-based business, and I just did it. And then as we went to hire a director of marketing, we had switched marketing types to where we sold coaching. And with coaching, you have a mechanism that you don't have to do when you sell courses. I'll process through this. There's an efficient way to say it, but I can't figure it out. So with courses, it's all direct response marketing, primarily, with traffic acquisition, some traffic channel, don't care what it is, going into like a good direct response copy funnel. It's going to be some configuration of that. There's a very particular skill set for that. I had that, and I have that. I'm good at that part. Specifically the copy part, I'm okay at traffic. And then with selling high ticket things, there's another mechanic inserted in there that's not present in lower price things. And that is, the main mechanic isn't getting someone to the checkout page or the sales page. The main mechanic is getting them on a phone call. I didn't appreciate the difference of those two things. And I hired really good marketers who had experience over here and just a little bit of experience over there with marketing that ended in an endpoint to get on a phone call. And there are just different worlds. The day-to-day experience doing marketing and leading marketing in a funnel like that is just different. There's stresses that exist in the other one when you get to scale. Like if you're booking hundreds of calls a month, there's stresses and issues over there that are just very different than the stresses and issues over here. And I didn't appreciate that till the third one. I was like, oh, they're getting super stressed out because of the uniquenesses between those two funnel types. So I hired people who are great marketers. I grew companies from where we're at to where we wanted to go. Vetted them out. We're way of like super in-depth hiring processes. In fact, it's like one of the best things we do for clients is the hiring processes. And I'm like, why do I keep missing this? I know how to hire. Like I know the process. I've done it a lot. I've coached a lot of people on it. I've found great marketers. What am I doing? That was number one, was not appreciating the difference and really finding somebody who had done this particular thing at the scale we were doing it. They had done it, but it was mixed with the direct response stuff, like the hardcore, super pure direct response stuff without a lot of call booking stuff at all. The second one was leadership. And because I probably could have overcome that first one. But I think I lead well. Ask my leadership team. They'll tell you for sure. This is just my own reflection on it. So I'm probably I'm in the forest. You can't read the label from inside the jar. But I'll just reflect on it the best I can. I think I lead well in areas that aren't marketing specifically because I'm surrendered to them. Like when I hire engineers, I'm like, I literally don't care how you code this stuff. Like I have no opinion because I know nothing. So that's easy actually. Let's set the goals. Like we use 1 Minute Manager, a primary leadership paradigm. It's a great book. So we set goals, we praise and redirect. That's how we coach too. We get clear on the goals and we praise and redirect based on if you're on course for the goals or not. Like that's it. And that's easy to do in disciplines you don't know. I've seen that with clients too. It's like they're great leaders. If they stick to some framework close to that, they're great leaders if they don't know the thing. But if they're great at a thing, it's hard to not get helicopter parent status over the thing you really know. And it's easy to helicopter parent, man. It's easy to look at every little thing they're doing that you would do differently and try to correct it, and that will kill relationship. It won't work. So I think ultimately, Tim, maybe this is dawning on me as we're talking here, a helicopter led the marketing people due to several reasons, and that eventually led them to burning out, in addition to them having never been in the funnel type that we were running. So they didn't know the lived experience of that, and I did a poor job leading because I was too involved. So there you go. That's maybe the summary. Thank you for my therapy session. This is good.
Yeah, you're welcome. Because you're giving so detailed answers and like going into a few directions, let me ask the questions in the same way. Instead of asking like one small question, let me give you a bundle and you will unpack the bundle.
Okay.
So basically, you mentioned a couple things. First of all, you mentioned that your two primary sources of customers is word of mouth and partnerships. Mm-hmm. So I believe that like word of mouth, it kind of based on the quality of your product mostly, but I'll let you talk about this. So partnerships, the way I see it, is what requires specifically marketing work is partnerships. And then you also said that getting people to check out and getting people to a call is entirely different skill sets. And then you said, then we discussed that you had directors of marketing. So it's not like a marketing manager, just one person running the show. It was director of marketing, means that this person was leading people. So the overarching question is, how does your marketing work in your company? Mm-hmm. Who's working on it, and what are those differences with checkout and booking a call? Yeah. And what are your main customer acquisition channels, and what kind of team you have working on your marketing? Basically, like general question with lots of small ones in it.
That's good. So we think about, like, we actually divide the company. We actually divide the P&L this way. And we call it the get department and the keep department. And literally every expense and every person goes in one of those two. Even ops goes between one of those two. We get customers and we keep customers, clients. So everything fits in one of those two buckets. So on the get side, that is what people would traditionally call marketing and sales. They're in charge of acquiring new humans that we have not had before. And there's two primary disciplines involved in that. There is book calls and close calls, and everything we put underneath that. So you have to put calls on calendar, like good qualified leads on a calendar, and then you have to have a human to talk to them. And a percentage of those people, usually about 10% on average, actually close and become a client. So every marketing discipline, we roll up onto one of those two things: get calls, close calls. That makes up the get department. Now, the disciplines within that, and I would maybe caveat one thing, Tim, is putting calls on calendar is like, that's easy. It's not too different than a checkout page. The thing that's different when you're doing phone-based sales with any kind of scale is you can't have surge activity. Meaning, if you're selling a course or some asynchronous type delivery mechanism, you can have a webinar that generates 5,000 sales that day. You do not want that with a phone sales team. You would book them out for 4 months, and after like week 2, nobody would show up to the call. So you have to, it actually is harder in lots of ways because you got to have regular, steady activity. You actually can't have surge activity. It'll kill you. It actually is just as bad as no activity. Like we had a partnership this week. Like we expected it to book 30 calls. It booked 60. Our close rate in new units sold this week will be down. You're like, why would it be down? Because every mechanism that the sales team has just got totally jacked up. So it works both ways. If you have no activity, like if you go 2 weeks without a sell and you got a whole sales team sitting there, if you're at scale a little bit, like they're not making money, they're going to leave and you're going to have people problems and sales problems. So you got to have, it's harder, I have found, in lots of ways. You got to have steady, every day you want to be the same is really what you want. You want steady activity every day, and you don't want to get, here's one of the challenging parts, you don't want to get ahead of yourself either. You don't want to be scheduling calls for 5 daurs from now, because those people aren't going to show up and they're going to forget why they booked the call. So there's like an imminency, I don't know if that's the right word, like there's a urgent, or like a timeline on it, where you want consistency, but you don't want to be going too far out. You don't want grand slams, and you for sure don't want no activity. And with asynchronous sales, you don't need any of that. Now, just for anybody listening, none of this matters sub $1 million. Most of this doesn't matter sub $3 million. This is what you get to when you're in that 5, 10, 15, $20 million range with a high ticket offer, because you're going to have 3 or 4 salespeople with that minimum. So you need consistency over time with that. You can do it. There's mechanisms to do it. We just have experimented and found ways not to do it. Don't do that. Do this. So high level, get and keep, get is made of, and we think very simply, simple is better. How do we make it impossible to screw up? That's Bryan's filters. So if you have a goal, if we have a goal of, let's say our average, just to use average numbers, our average order value collected is $10,000, and our goal for the month is $100,000. We need 10 people. Okay, so that's the result of the equation. Our close rate is 10%. We're all bookings, so we need 100 calls. 100 calls times 10% equals 10 humans. So literally the goal for Get is those numbers: 100, 10%, 10. You hit your goal. So then just what needs to make that up? How do we put calls on calendars? How do we close them? The closing side is very simple, actually. There's not a lot of moving parts there. There is 3 salespeople, and they have a script, and they have an auditing system that the director of sales leads. So it's like, is your close rate above 10% or below 10%? If below 10%, look at the audits and figure out what we're doing wrong and fix it. If it's above 10%, know what we're doing right and do more of it. That side doesn't have a lot of moving parts, and is decently low maintenance. On this book call side of things, you can make it very complicated, and we have many times. For a variety of reasons, there's 2 primary acquisition channels. Word of mouth is the best. My favorite marketing plan ever is be the best, word of mouth, and then let whatever happens after that happen. Meaning it's Purple Cow. It's Seth Godin's book, Purple Cow. Just put all of your marketing dollars in a product, make it A+ world class. Don't make your number one optimization point money. Make it result, and the money will come. But care about money. Don't lose money. Don't run out of money. Your business will end. So don't hear that. 1B is money. 1A is result. And word of mouth will flow. But you still must have a legit cold acquisition channel, a source of traffic that puts calls on calendars or proper eyeballs to sales page and gets people to check out. For us, we've experimented with a lot of them. For us, the thing we've settled on, and we teach primarily to almost everybody that we ever work with, 0 to $1 million, usually to 10 million, but definitely $1 million, because at that point you can have a team run it and you can go hire another team to go start up another channel, is partnerships. So we define a partnership
BOPA.
as, go ahead. What's that?
BOPA.
BOPA, yeah, borrowing other people's audiences. So we do this. We do it every week, 5 or 6 of them, where probably the easiest one to conceptualize is take your best resource you have, the best tool you have, the best lead magnet, I don't know, put whatever word you want on it, and have another person with an audience, give it to their audience in exchange for their email address. And you do the same thing. That is the whole marketing cold acquisition channel. We take our free tool or training, find other people to promote it, and we promote theirs. So our audience is always getting introduced to cool new tools and training they get for free. Our newsletter is simple. And then on the partner side, they're introducing our thing to their list. So like Monday, a guy named Matt Rudd, I don't know his website, he promoted a thing of ours. I don't remember the thing. It'd be better if this example if I had the specifics, but he emailed it out. It put 14 sales calls on the calendar, and yesterday we closed one of them. So like that's the cold acquisition channel. And we got 200-300 subscribers from it, booked 14 calls ish, and closed the client. We'll probably close one more out of that, one partnership. And we do 5 or 6 of those a week. So that's the whole cold acquisition, is we give our tools and training away for free to other people. They promote it to their audience, and we do the same thing for them. And that puts calls on calendar, and we close those calls. Here's one of the things I love about that, especially in things that require a high trust amount to buy. Coaching is for sure that. Expensive things are for sure that. Another category, I mean, everything has that component, but if your thing is $1, you don't need a high trust because the stakes are low. But if it's $100,000, no matter what it is, the stakes are high and the trust needs to be higher. So as trust level increases, I think your marketing channel needs to take that into account. It will, because it won't work all that well if you don't have trust there. That's why Facebook ads to coaching is extremely difficult to get to work. And when you get it to work, it's extremely easy to have terrible clients because the coldness of the traffic and the trust level is so low, they can be extremely difficult to work with. You can make it work. It can be done, but it's very hard. When you're doing partnerships, you have the trust that the partner has transferred to you. So example, the first thing I ever got to work online, like I accidentally found this. And then I left it for years and I've come back to it because it just works easy. It's just the hardest thing to screw up. Noah Kagan in 2014 asked me to teach his audience how I'd grown my email list to 100 subscribers. So I wrote a guide, he published it to his list, and I got like a couple thousand subscribers, and over the course of the next year, $100,000 in sales. So if you break down what happened there, which is where my brain always goes, that worked, okay, what happened and what are the mechanics I can take away and apply? What happened was Noah has an extreme amount of trust with his audience. He'd been blogging for a decade. Successful business, all that stuff. People trust him. Nobody knows who I am. But Noah's like, hey, y'all need to listen to Bryan. He just grew his list to 100 people. Here's 10 tactics he used to do that. And people are like, well, that's awesome. They read it. All the trust that Noah's audience has in him is transferred to me. We call this the Oprah effect. Like, nobody knew who Dr. Phil was. Dr. Phil is brought on Oprah's show because he's a parenting expert and Oprah isn't a mom. And he teaches Oprah's audience via an interview. And as a result of that, now everybody knows who Dr. Phil is. Same thing with Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Nobody knew who he was. He goes on Oprah's show, 5 million books are sold. And Robert directly attributes that to that one appearance on Oprah. So that's the reason we use it and we teach it. It's really hard to screw up. Here's my resource. Book a call if you want me to coach you. There's just it's a one-page funnel that someone else does all the work for. So it's very straightforward. Many other things can put calls on calendars, can close calls. They're more complicated. So get to them as your second channel. As a first channel, growing a coaching business or a high trust-based business to $1 million to $2-3 million, that's the simplest one. So that's what we do primarily. That's our first one.
So if that's the breakdown of your marketing, basically do partnerships. Mm-hmm. It doesn't sound too complicated, to be honest. Not that many moving parts, which makes me want to go back to the story of 4 marketing directors who had to quit. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's more to your marketing than that. Well, one thing, I can see how booking a very specific number of calls, because you said no calls is bad, surge of calls is bad. So I can see how that can be stressful if you cannot balance it out with how do I schedule those promotions? Oh, this person is being late on the delivery of what they wanted, and this person is being early, so they would clash. But what else am I missing in this? What causes stress and complexity in your marketing, given that it's mainly just partnerships?
I think over the course of those 4 directors, it wasn't that simple. I think it's been a road to get here. Oftentimes with me, I don't know if other people are like this, I feel like simplicity, I think it's just some straight arrow. And I know there's several people I know that are great at that. Somebody who's great at keeping things simple from the beginning, and I've never seen him get anything complicated, is Brian Dean. Maybe the best I've ever seen. It's just all I don't know if he's just, when I talk to him, or we've known each other for a long time now, since the beginning, but he's just great at not outthinking the room at all. That's I got the t-shirts for outthinking the room. So typically my path has been start simple, get super complicated, work through all the stupid stuff and get back down to the simple thing. And then we actually fully experience it and stay in that. So I think just through those 4, that clarity wasn't totally there. So we were doing Facebook ads, we're doing partnerships, we're doing, it's one other channel I'm not thinking about, primarily those 2. There's figuring it out. There's the figured out process, and it isn't always clean, not with me at least. Some people I know can do that, and that's not a skill set of mine. So I think it's the thrashing, it's the figuring out process to get there. My leadership was not good with them. I helicopter parented them. I didn't optimize for that unique thing. It is not. If you haven't run marketing, putting calls on calendar, and you're used to selling asynchronous product, you do not understand it. It is fundamentally a different thing. Have the livelihood of 4 sales guys in your hand and miss it for a week and see what happens to you and your stress level. Okay. So it is different. And I didn't appreciate that until I learned it the hard way. But I think ultimately it's my leadership, and it wasn't that simple from the beginning.
So as you started talking about your marketing channels, I kind of, how to say, basically I couldn't wait for you to say the BOPA acronym, so I had to say it myself because you mentioned it on another podcast, and I enjoyed it. Basically, it stands for borrowing other people's audiences, and like the concept is not new in marketing. It's like I like to say, for example, fish where the fish is. Basically, go to the places where your audience is hanging out. This specific acronym, is this your thing, or did you hear it somewhere else?
I think we made the acronym. It's funny, for years we had OPA and BOPA, other people's audiences and borrow other people's. Anyway, I think one of the marketing directors finally coined it, and then we stuck. I don't particularly love it, but it is a little sticky, so, and it kind of rhymes a little bit. But
no, it's. I think it's a bit catchy.
Yeah, we didn't invent it. We just. I mean, again, I haven't invented anything. It's just been a process of experimentation to find what's hard to screw up and seems kind of fun and works really well. So, and it's the first thing I ever did that worked. Like, I didn't even realize what was happening when the Noah thing was going on. Just in retrospect, it's like, oh crap, that's what happened. I accidentally borrowed his audience. What if I did it intentionally? And then you start doing it intentionally. It's like, oh man, like this is just easier. This works great.
So with Noah, I think there's an element of, I think there's a term called guilt by association. Probably it's even on Wikipedia. Basically, when you take a picture next to, President of United States of America, whoever that would be by the time the podcast goes out, your kind of status elevates because somehow you manage to stand next to this person and snap a picture. And I've read about this from a book. I think it was called Supermensch. I think it's a German word, and it's about a guy, a producer from the United States, who was helping different bands to basically get to the top, mostly metal bands. And what he was saying that one of the kind of tactics he was used is guilt by association. So he was trying to get into private parties where like the royalty and high profile people were hanging out with his band and like snap pictures and then leak those pictures to the press. Like, who is that standing next to Princess Diana or something like that? Sure. And immediately people were interested who that is. So it's one thing to have someone promote you. It's another thing to have someone kind of build trust in you within your audience. And you had that with Noah because you knew Noah before that. I think you were taking his course and you were his poster boy for some of the things that he was teaching. So you had a great relationship and he knew that you were legit. So it wasn't like a cold outreach. Hey, Noah, I have this thing. Please promote me. Or like I can pay you money or I can do something in exchange. No, like he knew you. So he was kind of recommending you genuinely. So that's a bit different. And there's another concept that I've heard from you in another podcast interview, where is that eyes, hearts, wallets.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that first you get attention, then you win their hearts, and then you kind of sell something to them.
Yep.
But I want to speak more about the borrowing other people's audience as well. It still ties into the same thing because the reason we're having this interview now is because your guy reached out to us and he wanted to do the so-called lead magnet swap, basically borrow our audience in a way. And the offer is we had to promote your free tool called listswap.co. You're welcome. I'm promoting it. And you would promote something from Ahrefs, whatever we wanted to promote. But we don't typically do those kinds of things. Still promoting this thing for you on this podcast. Anyway, So it seems that there are some steps between us promoting list swap and the person getting onto your coaching call. And the list swap, the free tool, the free service, I believe you want to make it paid. I think in our research we found out that right now it is free, but then you want to charge for it something. It reminds me of the Ascension ladder, which you said is not the right way to do customers. So walk me through that. Why do you want to promote kind of a I won't say irrelevant tool, but the tool that is kind of remote from your core service instead of just finding a way to promote core service? And do you have any of those like nurturing sequences in place for getting a person who is signing up for that tool list swap to becoming your coaching client?
Yeah, so listswap.co is a place if you are interested in having other people promote and vouch for you and do that for other people, sign up for it. And once a month or so, we'll introduce you to people who have literally raised their hand and be like, hey, people in the finance world, like if you find another list around my size in the finance world, I'd love to promote them and I'd love them to promote me. So it's a marketplace. It feeds an internal marketplace where we match people and literally just match them up with other folks that have already raised their hand and is like, I would love to be promoted by other people and have other people promote me. So that's what listswap.co is. So if you're interested in that, interested in BOPA, that's the simplest way possible to make that happen. It takes the thing that happened to me accidentally with Noah and turns it to be an intentional thing, and helps you just get matched with folks. And we found, the deeper the relationship, the better. So, if Noah at the top of that blog post is like, he heavily vouches for me in the first few sentences. And that's great. That makes it work better for sure. Also, you don't have to have that. It will make it better. But like Matt, we didn't know Matt at all. Cody, who runs partnerships for us, he's in charge of our primary cold acquisition channel with partnerships. He did research and found Matt and reached out to him with probably almost an identical email he reached out to you with Tim. And Matt was like, yeah, that'd be great. Let's do it. And it's worked. That one's been really good for us. Yeah, so listswap.co, that's what that is. We're not charging. I'm not aware of us charging for anything with that. That wouldn't be any kind of primary product line or anything like that. That's just not what we're doing as a company. Perhaps there's been talk about it or somebody's had some idea or something, but that would be very unlikely to happen for us, and definitely wouldn't be like our primary product or anything. That's just not what we do, and that ultimately is not going to get people results consistently over time. It's a primary mechanism because when doing BOPA, like if people hire us to coach them, the reason they hire is customer acquisition, and the primary customer acquisition channel, at least the first one we install, is partnerships. And one of the first bottlenecks people come to is like, okay, but who is going to promote me? So that marketplace fits the spot in our product suite and our coaching of making it super simple to do that, because you could, and we do, teach people to find people cold, outreach cold. And hey, the yes rates are like 35%, by the way. So like, you don't have to send a lot of emails to book partnerships. It's actually, people think that's the problem. It's not at all. Like, that's actually very simple. But with the marketplace, our results are 100%, almost 100%. Like, people have raised their hand and is like, hey, I want to do this. Another person's like, hey, I want to do it. And we just match it based on industry or shoulder industry. And like, they do it. So for us, the mechanism that's helped in coaching is speed up time to result. So if on average it takes 90 days to get a client, if you're going cold outreach, cold research and cold outreach with the marketplace, that'll get it to about 60 days, sometimes even 30 days. So that's the thing it's done for us. And it's been great for lead gen as well. Because when we do partnerships, a lot of times, even like this podcast is a version of a partnership. The Ahrefs audience listens to the podcast. Most people don't know I exist. They found out I exist. Some people go to listswap.co because they're like, crap, can you email me tomorrow with 3 people that would want to promote me? I would like to do that. Yes, I would. Go to listswap.co and we'll do that. So that's what that serves. And my goal of that, because I haven't been to that page in a second, but when you opt into it, I think the next page is like a call booking page. It's like, hey, if you want us to guarantee you matches, schedule the call and we'll walk through and show you how to do that. And then on the call, they talk about that and talk through their industry and show them like, hey, in the marketplace, we got 500 people in this industry and we can help you set up the whole channel. So that's a lead gen for it. And it also builds an internal tool that we use to help people that hire us actually get matched and get clients quicker. So that's how that works.
So it actually produces quality calls for you.
Oh, yeah, it's great. The close rate on people that go through that is about 10%.
10%? Mm-hmm. Is this your primary quote unquote lead magnet that you're offering to people?
Yeah, we actually put a spin on it. This is kind of interesting, just marketing geek stuff here for a second. Back in March, we did a contest. Cody, our partnership guy, was like, hey, what we should do is like, let's reach out to every influencer we kind of know and some ones we want to know. And let's run a contest. And I might butcher the specifics here because that's been several months ago. But we basically guaranteed the person who got the most opt-ins, we would promote them to our list with like 3 emails or something like that. And these are all people we know really well. And we would do some creative, do an interview and take their best resource that makes sense to their audience and do something like that. So the prize, you can think of this like affiliate promotion of a course or something where people do that. There's a prize for the person who gets the most. We took that concept but applied it to partnerships. So for the month of March, we recruited 20 or 30 people to all promote the exact same thing, which is listswap.co. And the person who got the most opt-ins would get that top prize. And there was a second prize and a third prize. I forget the specifics now. And that worked great. That worked fantastically well. But you can't do that all the time. That's like a one-time event that gets in the borderline of producing surge activity, which you don't want. So we're like, all right, what worked there? Let's apply it to what we do every week. Because our goal every week is to do 2 lead magnet swaps or resource swaps. And then 1 workshop and 1 podcast interview. So that's kind of the quota Cody has. 1 workshop, 1 podcast interview, 2 lead magnet swaps. But the best lead magnet swaps, some of the best lead magnet swaps we've ever done with the highest close rates and most bookings and most organic promotion. Because sometimes you agree to do a partnership with somebody and they don't promote it all that much and it's kind of a dud and waste your time. And that just happens. That's okay. Was that March thing. So we now apply that on the local partner level. This is like 10th level detail here. But instead of now just giving somebody like a video or a checklist or something like that, we're like, hey, let's do a contest with your list. And we'll take, you promote list swap, which gets them to teach our core method to their audience, borrow other people's audiences. And hey, by the way, if you want to be matched, opt in for this. They can do that efficiently. And we take one person that opts in and promote them. So for example, let's say we did this with Ahrefs. Ahrefs promotes it to the list. Y'all have said you're not going to do that, so that's fine. So we use that as a theoretical example. One person who opted into list swap, we would do a full-on feature promotion of them to our list. So that's worked really well. But anyway, that's a kind of a complicated version, but you can take, the simplest things that we've seen is just take a checklist. Take the 5-step checklist to do X, Y, Z. And like for me, there's a guy named Justin Moore who's done something we've done some partnerships with. He's into sponsorships. He teaches sponsorships for podcasts and newsletters and that kind of thing. Like just taking Justin's 5-step checklist to land $100,000 in partnerships to your newsletter and sending that to the list and saying, hey, my friend Justin does sponsorships. We don't know a lot about sponsorships, but Justin's awesome about it. I've trusted him for years on the topic. Listen to his podcast. He's giving you all a 5-step guide to land sponsorships for your podcast or newsletter. Go check it out. Here's a link. And they would go there. And Justin would get 500 to 1,000 subscribers. And I don't know if he does call bookings or sales from cart, but he would generate lots of sales from that. For my list, it's a great win because they've just got this cool new thing they hadn't really thought about, or maybe they have. They're definitely not listening to me for the topic, but it's related to the thing they listen to me about, which is client acquisition and generating revenue from your business. So that's the simplest version and mostly what we do. We've put some little spins on it here and there, just hyper tweaking our exact instance. Yeah.
2 questions in one. Mm-hmm. First of all, you mentioned quite a few times in your previous interviews that whenever you start working with new clients, you want to focus them on developing a single marketing channel, mm-hmm. which is usually borrowing other people's audiences. And you have this threshold that until this marketing channel is bringing 50K in revenue, you don't move anywhere else, yada, yada, yada. So it feels partnerships are working well for you specifically. I wonder if you're thinking of the next marketing channel that you want to develop. And in regards to that, I want to ask you, why are you not investing time in your personal brand like many other people are doing and like you were doing before? Because the way I know you is because I've consumed quite a bit of your content. Mm-hmm. I've consumed quite a bit of your articles. I learned quite a bit, and not even necessarily marketing tips, because previously when I was reading Videofruit, I viewed you as an incredibly organized guy. The way you were structuring like your, tasks, your team, everything was super inspiring. And again, reading your journey was also super inspiring. I also remember one tip I learned from you in terms of copywriting, and I'm still using, is, for example. Do you remember this? I think you maybe even had a dedicated article about it. So like if you want to improve like your writing, your teaching, use for example more, give examples, give the action examples. Yeah, anyway, I'm digressing. What I'm trying to say is that you were really good at kind of thought leadership, building a personal brand.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't remember what was the last time I consumed any kind of piece of content or thought leadership or education from you. But I know that if that would appear on my radar in the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, I would go and read like what Bryan is up to, what he's teaching today. So tell me more about your next marketing channel and why is it not your personal brand?
Let me go to the second thing, because I think that's a really good question. So I would go back to, you need to ignore like 97% of what everybody says. Like most of us suck at most things and we're good at one or two things. And sometimes those one or two things can cycle in and out. And I would definitely apply that to me first and what you hear and process from me. That's why I share kind of where I'm coming from on the hard to screw up and all that. So you can filter it through your filtering mechanisms. So I would agree with you, Tim. I think for the first 7 years of this company existing, I think we did a great job at that. And then we kind of went into wilderness wandering stage a little bit. And I think that's been good. But I agree. I think I'm the best version of me, just as a human, when I'm sharing what I'm learning publicly. I think Nathan Barry is the first person I heard the phrase learn out loud from. And yeah, so I don't think it was a mistake to leave it. I think I learned many things by not doing it for a while and playing another role and just seeing what that felt like and seeing how that worked. And lots of good things came from it. But I agree. And I've taken steps even in the last 2 months to get back to that. I don't know what it'll look like totally. But I've been writing emails once a week and I'm like, man, this is good. Like it's interesting. You mentioned eyes, hearts, and wallets. That's what you need. And this will connect to this topic, hopefully. Just pulling back if I talk too long on this. There's 3 things you need to do in order to generate customers. You need to get their eyes, you need to get their hearts, and then you can get their wallets. And people tend to focus on number 1 or number 3. And that's not, this is a this year realization, Tim. And these things are just don't seem intuitive on the front end until you just walk through it and you're like, crap, now that seems so simple and obvious. Why did I not know that 8 years ago? And I tend to stay out of that. That's just the path I needed to go down to understand that. For many years, I focused on wallets. What that looks like is the stereotypical funnel hacker thought process. And these are not bad, but if you optimize for every tip and trick and every little nth degree item, that's fine, and it produces stuff, but it's not the optimal. Then you go to the other end of the spectrum, which I would imagine is where the Ahrefs audience is more actually. If you go to eyes, you can optimize for eyeballs. Well, like, this is a bit drastic, but eventually you wind up being a porn site or a gambling site because those are the 2 things that attract the most eyeballs. And not actually, but you get, it's not the best optimization point. What I found, Tim, like optimizing for, and this is just me, but it's the thing that has felt light, it's the thing that just produces the best out of me for sure, is optimizing for hearts. And that's deep personal connection. I don't really care about building an audience. I just borrow it and it'll grow accidentally as a side effect of it. But what if, like, last week we did a partnership. I don't know what happened. The person had a 300,000 person email list, very engaged. They sent 3 emails invited to the webinar, and we had 10 people show up. I'm like, I don't even know what happened. So I'm sitting in a room expecting 200 people, and imagine you go to a talk at a conference in person, you're in a room of 200 and 10 people show up. Like, you're not super pumped as the speaker on stage. And I think in the past, I would have been just like kind of pissed off the whole time. And this is evolving, so I'm not like, I haven't reached ultimate human state or anything. But I could tell the difference in myself because the realization to like, don't worry about eyeballs. Don't worry about wallets. Optimize for, in this room, over the next 90 minutes with these 10 people, how can I connect with them at a deep level? And just help them. And helping isn't about information primarily. It's about listening and holding space for them and evaluating where they're at and that kind of thing. And how can I help them? And one of those 10 people hired us. And we got a couple other in the pipeline. It's just like 10 people. It's not like you don't need many people, but it just produces, I've noticed in me, as I've just shifted my mindset, even tactically, I don't know if we've really shifted anything to optimize for this outside of the thing we look for is Not how can we get them to send more traffic, not how can we get more conversions. Those things are good. Have the basic mechanics in place. Be at least B- at that. But like focus on how can I connect with humans? Because when people trust you, no matter what you're selling, no matter what you're doing, good things will happen. So I think going back to the personal brand topic, people connect with people. And I think everybody shouldn't be this. And I think the reason I shied away from it, started pushing away from it a little bit in 2019, there's lots of reasons, but one of them was a lot of public attention can jack most people up and get you thinking in bad ways and doing stupid stuff. And most of you can't even see publicly. Like, oh, that person seems well adjusted. But I've just met enough people now who are the people that people follow. And I'm like, oh man, like I don't want to be that. The public persona is all great and fine and the business is great, but like, I don't want to be that parent. I don't want to be that spouse. Do they have any friends they can talk to anything about? And I'm like, I'm zero interested in that. And I think just my self-development over the last 5-6 years, I don't know. I think it's time to do more of that. How that looks, I don't know. I'll take it baby steps at a time. But I think that a human writing, sharing, talking, video, whatever the format is, I tend to default to writing more. There's two things you need for a relationship. It's the fundamentals. It's what God did in the Bible. You got to be with the people and talk to the people. If you want a relationship with your spouse and you're not with them and you don't talk to them, you will have no relationship. You'll eventually leave each other. If you want a relationship with your kids, you have to be with them, like together with them, with your presence in the room with them and talk with them. If you do that, relationship can't not happen. So just fundamentally, like if I want to build a relationship with a couple thousand people a year, I got to be with them and talk to them. And I enjoy that. I actually really like that a lot. So, I don't know, this is a long answer to your question, but I think that's the purpose it serves for me. And I just like that. Like, it's how I'm built as a human. So I want to do more of that, not in a way that mimics somebody else, not in a way that copies what Noah did or what you've done or whatever, but like, what's that for me? And writing is that. Interviews like this, long form like this are good for that. I like it. I've enjoyed this a lot. I get more out of it than anybody listening will. Teaching on workshops, I love that. I'll do 3 a week. They're fantastic. Sales happens, I don't care. I'm deeply connected with 100 people. Cool. Every positive thing that needs to happen will come out of that, as long as we're like at least a B- with our basic marketing mechanics. And we are. So yeah, I think there's a long answer to your question.
Figure it out. Mm-hmm. So this is the video. This is second most watched video on your channel. And I don't remember. I think it was embedded in one of your articles. I loved the content so much that in Notion at Ahrefs, I created a bunch of documents for the marketing team, our kind of communication principles. And there's a document, I think it's called How to Progress as a Marketer or something, or How to Be More Valuable as a Marketer. And I figure it out as one of the points, and I'm actually linking to your video because I love it so much. I love the concept of being able to figure it out, which is a little bit at odds with the coaching thing. Okay. And I think you mentioned it in one of the interviews that it's great to be able to figure it out, but at the same time, a lot of people kind of sleep on the value of coaching. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so there's this kind of dilemma.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you wanted to write a book about it, no? Mm-hmm. Or was that some other concept that you wanted to write about?
I will one day. Hasn't been the time yet. Yeah, it's interesting. So I think my leadership of the 4 directors of marketing is a perfect example to hit the dichotomy of this thing. I think we should call this interview like 7 dichotomies. 7 things that seem to be hypocritical of each other, but I think are true. That's a terrible title. So it can take you a long time to figure stuff out. So I would have fast forwarded through 4 directors of marketing if I'd have had a leadership coach me through it. So one of the things I think practically that a coach does is speed up your time, increase your success rate, because the longer a thing takes, the more likelihood you are to eject. So many people in my instance would have just quit trying to have a team. I've seen it. I've seen it from friends. I've seen it from clients. I've seen it from public YouTube people where they hire the team, build it up, and they're like, forget all the people and go back to being a solopreneur. What that really means is I failed as a leader and didn't figure it out. Most of the times, really, if you dig into it. Like I couldn't quite figure out the leadership thing. And there's a bunch of parts of that. So that's fine. Like, I'm not judging them that maybe they needed to do that. So I think for me, if I'd hired a leadership coach, I probably wouldn't have had any of those problems. They would have shortened the time span of figuring it out. So there's lots of ways you can apply. We call it FIO as one of our main core values. We give an award out for it every quarter. One of the simplest ways that we teach internally, like, what's the problem you have? Who has already figured it out? And could you just go get them to tell you what to do? That's totally fine. And this has been interesting as we've hit this as a core value for like almost a decade now. It's interesting. I did not expect this, and I still haven't been able to like actually counter it as well as I thought I would have had. People tend to isolate and think that figure it out means I need to go do it myself. And if I ask anybody for help or brainstorm or whatever, that's not figuring it out. It's like, no, that's like the opposite of figuring it out. That's being stupid. Like, that's like, don't take the hard path, take the simple path. Now this is maybe the difference. Keep ownership of the problem. Don't give me your problem. But I would love for any employee to be like, hey, I got this hard problem, trying to figure it out. I've tried these 3 things. I can't find the path. Can we brainstorm and help me find the path? Yes, please. But if you're like, I got this problem, here it is, go solve it. I'm like, what are you doing? That's not the heart of being able to figure it out. So that video was filmed before I had a team. Anyway, so there's different dynamics when you have a team, but the heart is still there. The practical part's still there. But know as a leader, anybody listening to this and preaching to the choir and myself, if you hit your team with that a lot, their innate response will be to isolate and not come to you because they think that figuring it out means not involving anybody. And that's actually a lie of it. So I have to actively combat that on our side. And I think we talk about it. I mean, we do several things as a team to keep that core value front of mind. If there was only one core value in the whole company, it'd be that. But it has to be properly trained so people don't do the parts of it that can lead you astray.
As we're approaching the end of our interview, I want to squeeze in a quick kind of fun thing. Mm-hmm. Can you open your ChatGPT and tell me any 3 last queries that you asked it?
I don't think I have it.
You don't think you have it? That also is an answer to my question.
I never use it, so I have no idea what this will be. But I'll see. I've set it up account at some point, but I don't know the last time I was actually in here. Login.
Not necessarily the last 3, but whatever is not too private to share.
Tim, I don't even know how to. It's not in my last pass, so I don't even know how to log into the thing.
Awesome. Don't worry about this. Awesome, because a lot of people are too worried that ChatGPT is going to like kill every other search engine and everything.
Hey, actually, I thought about something. I don't know if there'll be queries when I use it. It'll just be for like some research question I'm too lazy to go look up. I'll use Grok on Twitter just because I'm logged into it and it's there. It's just I never remember where to go to log into ChatGPT, and I use it so infrequently. But
does it save history the same way as ChatGPT does?
Yeah, that's what I was looking. Oh yeah, it does actually. Okay, here it is. These are this is fun. I checked what is healthy blood sugar range. Oh, this is funny. Okay. I kept seeing people talk about this on Twitter, and I was like, I actually don't know what this is. And people are bashing on it. I'm like, I literally have no idea what this is. So I typed in, what is QAnon? Because I see all these like conspiracy people talking about it. I actually have no idea. I've heard it for years. I'm like, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
All kind of stuff. I'm like, what in the world? That's so bizarre. Let's see if there's another one of interest. Blood sugar, that. And I asked a question about the Olympics. I'm a big Auburn football fan. And the lady who won the last all-around singles, basically the top gymnastics gold medal, was an Auburn lady, and she's competing this year. So I just researched to see, if she had won or I think it's today is when the all-around singles is happening. So anyway, just basic stupid stuff like that.
Interesting. I'm actually not using Grok. I'm not even sure if in Singapore you can get access to it on Twitter. I need to check. Yeah. But I can totally see how it can be convenient as you are on Twitter already. Yeah. Instead of opening any other tabs or something, just do your question or your search on Twitter.
I don't think it's powerful. They don't have all the plugins. And if you're using it practically for work, I think Grok is not remotely close to the level of doing that. But for the kind of stupid stuff I ask, I don't even want to Google it. I just go, and I'm on Twitter. I paid to be verified, so you get access and that kind of thing. So that's just my use case. This is very uninspiring use of AI.
Bryan, Thanks a lot for this conversation. It has been a while, like I said, since we catched up, and I really enjoyed this.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks a lot for sticking till the very end of this episode. I guess that means you enjoyed it, right? Because if you did, I have to ask you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, or maybe click the follow button if you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify. Not sure if you know this, but subscriptions and follows are the strongest signal for these platforms to show this piece of content to more people. So I would really appreciate it if you would follow and subscribe. Thanks in advance, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.